Hello and welcome to the Matthew Alton Art channel again. Well, here I am again. The videos are coming out thick and fast at the moment as I'm trying to complete the plan of doing 6 fruit still lives in February. I actually won't manage the 6 as I had originally planned at the beginning of the month, but there is another one coming tomorrow, so that should be 5. I've enjoyed focusing on one particular subject and one particular medium, which has been oil paints on artist wheel paper. This is the photograph that I used for the 4th of these fruit still lives. Return to Royal Gala apples again. They're arranged on my mantelpiece. I took photographs of the apples in various poses, and I've been using those to do some of these still lives. Well, here I am actually drawing out the arrangement as you've just seen in the reference photograph. As I mentioned at the beginning, it's on artist wheel paper, which I've taped to a drawing board using a mechanical pencil here, just in pencil, just to draw out the main layout of the arrangement. The drawing tends to be quite accurate, but not too detailed, because you're going to paint over it anyway, really. It's just to get the right shapes and angles and that sort of thing. It's a guide. A lot of people don't draw out before painting in oils, but I like to. There you can see I'm just erasing the actual drawing, just so it's very fine and you can still see it, but it's not too dark. And here I am actually putting the first colours on the page, just a blocking out phase, as always with these still life paintings. Getting the background colour of the wall in just flat colour at the moment. The shadows will be added later. It's a mauvey colour, as all of these have been for these still life series that I'm doing in February. The dark charcoal black background of the mantelpiece, again a flat colour. And then I will be proceeding with just blocking in the main colour of the actual fruit itself. We've got one very red apple on the left here that has a bit of green and yellow in it, and then the other apple is cut in half and arranged leaning up the wall. I think I've mentioned in all these videos I've gessoed this artist wheel paper. I've used artist wheel paper for ages, really. I quite like the smooth surface of it, but it is quite absorbent, especially for the first layer that you put on. So I experimented with putting some gesso over the top of that. You don't need to, because the fibres on artist wheel are specifically coated so that they can take oil paints. But it did seem to make it a bit less absorbent, so I've stuck with it for all of them really, and gessoed the paper before starting with the actual painting. Just indicating the beginning of the shadow shapes between the apples here. Again, just all very rough to start with. The joy of oil paints is that you can build it up gradually and not worry about doing it all at once, sort of thing. This painting is 20 by 20, I think, so quite small, using quite small brushes. The initial block out was done in quite a large brush, but now I've gone to a smaller brush. And the process from this blocked out point is really just to observe intently what you're looking at and to try and match that with paint, really. And to do the details, you need a small brush. So a lot of this painting is done using a small brush, building up gradually. It took about 3.5 hours, I think, to complete this one. A bit less work than the first Royal Gala apple one that I did, that had 3 apples arranged on the mantelpiece, so it was a slightly bigger work, and obviously 3 subjects instead of 2. I use a medium with the paints, but not very much, to be honest. Oil paint out of the tubes, and I'm using Daler-Rowney graduate oils. They can be quite unflowing especially on the paper, which is quite absorbent. Initially, it's fine once you've got a layer of paint on; they're quite smooth and go on quite well. But on the actual blank paper surface, they're quite unflowing. So the medium can sometimes just help to make it flow a little bit better, get the right consistency. Out of the tube, it's a bit too thick, and you want it sort of smooth and sort of like flowing, I suppose is the word I'm looking for, really. I also use Gamsol, which is for washing the brushes between different colours. And you can use that as well to thin the paint if you want very thin oil paint. The joy of that is that it's odourless. I used to use white spirit for my oil paintings, and that was just... I work with the window open anyway, because just because it's odourless doesn't mean it's not toxic. But it just used to give you a headache, the intense smell of the white spirit that I used to use. I still use white spirit to wash the brushes at the end of the painting, but a little pot of Gamsol is really good for not smelling you out. I definitely recommend it. As always in my paintings, I'm aiming for realism, so I want it to look real, but I don't particularly want to create a photographic representation. I think on these still lives that I've done in February, they are quite photographic in lots of ways, but I do like people to still see that it's a painting, and there should be visible brush strokes in it and things like that. I think really for it to be a successful painting for me. After all, I've got the photograph of the arrangement of the fruit, in this case on the mantelpiece. Why would I want to recreate a photograph? It seems a bit silly, really. I have to say I'm getting a bit sick of oranges and reds in this month, because I've been doing tangerines and these very red apples, and for the last painting that I'm planning to do tomorrow, it will be a green and blue and yellow painting. I'm going to do a lemon and lime on a blue cloth from a photograph that I took quite a while ago of various fruit. Fruit is something that I do quite a lot of. It sells quite well for one, but it's also something that I enjoy trying to get the different textures and colours of, really. In a lot of my work I use quite subdued colours, and of course you can't really do that with fruit because they are so bright, so it's nice to have a subject that is so bright and colourful, really, for a change. You can see that I've added the highlight onto the left-hand side of the left apple, and I'm trying to build up the texture now of the skin, and you'll see that takes quite a while. You need to be patient with this process, but the skin of the Royal Gala apples are very dappled with red flecks and green flecks as well, so I'm sort of adding yellow flecks onto the red bit that I've added, and red flecks onto the yellow bits of the apple to give the actual overall texture of the skin. And I'm not slavishly copying where every red fleck is on the actual photograph, but I'm trying to recreate the overall effect of the skin, which I think by the end I managed quite well. Trying to get the three-dimensionality of the actual fruit as well. There is, of course, reflected light coming on the very edges, the outside edges of this apple that I'm working on at the moment, and that bright light is coming and reflecting from the wall behind. And that is the case on both sides. Put the shadow in underneath the stalk there, showing that the light is coming from the left. And then darkening up the shadow between the apples. I have to say, they're all on my mantelpiece, the paintings that I've done side by side, and they're looking quite a nice little collection. It is nice to be working on a full series of work that has a similar theme, I have to say. It would look good on any gallery wall, I think, really, as a little group of work by me. And as I said in several of these videos, I think I'm planning to do more of these focus months this year. Not every month. I do still like flitting about, trying different media and different subject matters, and I will always do that probably. It keeps it interesting for me, but it is also nice to have a bit of time where you focus on one specific thing, and it's nice to have a sort of coherent group of work after that as well. I'm not sure what the next one will be. It probably will be in April, the next focus month, and it possibly might be animals. I'm not sure if that is animals in one particular medium or whether it's just animals in general. I also include birds in that because I do quite like painting birds of various kinds, so it'll be animals and birds, I expect. And I'll aim for a similar 6 in the month if I can, and hopefully I'll manage to achieve the 6 that month. All tools are usable in oil painting. You just saw me use my finger there. However you need to get the texture or look that you want, that's what you should use. I wasn't quite as pleased with the flesh that you can see I'm working on the cut apple here than I was on the first one that I did of Royal Gala apples. So it's okay, but it's just not quite the same. Just a bit of the shadow of the other apple catching on the edge of that cut edge there. If you've got any questions about how I do it, then do ask them in the comments of the video. I don't get many comments on the videos, which is a bit of a shame. But if you're watching this because you are wanting to learn how to paint with oils or do still lives or whatever, then just ask and I will answer. I don't know all of the answers, but I can certainly tell you how I do it and what works for me. I also run a Patreon online. I'll put the details of that in the description of the video, and that's a group of artists wanting to learn from each other, and we do fortnightly art challenges and drink and draw social events where we all paint the same thing or use the same reference or topic anyway, and we share the work on a Discord group, which is sort of like a chat server. Really friendly little group, so again, if you're wanting to learn, then do consider joining that. It costs very little. It's $10 a month, which is $8.50 in the UK at the moment. It varies slightly, obviously, with the exchange rates, but we're always looking for new members. There's only 7 of us at the moment, but it's a really friendly little group, very supportive. And you can see that I'm getting towards the end now. As I've said on all these videos, the edge of the mantelpiece is fairly loosely done, and perhaps it's a bit too loosely done really, but because the apples are so precisely done, and then the mantelpiece is a bit daubed on, I guess. But it doesn't need to be in focus really, in that it's the apples that are the important part. Well, here's the final painting. It's 20 by 20 square, as I say, on artist wheel paper. It's a bit reflective because it's still wet when I took this photograph. It's become a little less shiny. But overall, I'm really pleased with how it's turned out. I think I've certainly managed the texture of the skin on the left apple quite well. And the inside flesh on the cut apple is not quite as good as the previous one, but it's still perfectly fine and quite accurate. Okay, well, thank you for watching the video again. As I've said earlier in the video, there will be another video coming very soon of the fifth and final fruit painting of this month, and that will be half lemon and lime on a blue cloth. So do stay tuned for that one. If you've enjoyed the video, then do give it a thumbs up, and if you're new here, then please consider subscribing. I'd love to grow the number of subscribers on the channel. It is going up very, very slowly, but not very quickly. So that would be really helpful. Thank you. Okay, I'll see you on the next one in a few days' time. Okay, bye.